Hey everyone, welcome back. Remember what I said last stream? You want a literal flashbang DPS to just go around blinding and killing your enemies, and possibly even yourself? Look no further. This is what I like to call the Flashbang Nuke Rhino. Now, it does work as advertised. It doesn't have massive range though, but you are literally a walking flashbang, and I guarantee you, anything you get near will die. Or maybe you can make some other meme and call it the fart cushion rhino? I don't know. This fits in that weird middle ground of actually viable meme shitposts. Look no further and let's dive right in. So this is the Corinth Prime. Honestly, I'm somewhat underwhelmed with this weapon. It is one of a very few crit-based shotguns, and yet DE chose to buff its alt-fire and status and reload mechanics for the Prime. I actually do miss the single shell reloads for the utility, and because you could get some hilarious reload animations if you buffed it enough. Though, on the other hand, this loadout takes advantage of these changes. The airburst explosion was inflated from 404 all the way up to 2200, or a 5 times damage increase. It also now has 50% status instead of 28, making it extremely easy to proc. Then there's small buffs like increasing the blast radius from 9.4 to 9.8 meters, and main fire mode stuff like a tiny fire rate buff, status chance buffs, etc. But we won't be using that fire mode much today. If DE is not going to give this weapon the crit buffs it deserves and scuff the hilarious reloads, then why not just make a build focus around the alt-fire DE loves oh so much. Let's look at that Corinth Prime build. The first thing you'll notice is we don't have Primed Firestorm on this weapon. That's actually because Primed Firestorm is a rifle mod only, and Corinth Prime is a shotgun, so we are stuck with this 9.8 meter radius explosion. It does have a 90% fall off, which is kind of a shame, but it is hilarious to use. Being unable to slot Prime Firestorm does open up a slot on the build though. The Prime has a base 3-second reload, which is insanely high. We cut down on this by stacking both Primary Merciless and Chilling Reload to bring it to just 1.8. Honestly, I definitely still feel the reload and wish we could bring it even lower, but at least it isn't an eternity like 3 seconds at base. Chilling Reload also lets us save slots by just needing Toxic Barrage to make viral. Now we have Poggers, Reload, and Viral with just 2 mods. The free slot from being unable to slot Primed Firestorm lets us slot Primed Ammo Stock, which increases the magazine to 42. Since the alt-fire consumes 4 ammo per blast, it is a lot comfier that we get 10 shots now instead of 5. Vigilante Supplies both helps with boosting the crit since we're reliant on Arcane Avenger, as the alt-fire only has 4% base crit while also quelling our ammo concerns. Hunter Munitions obviously scales off the crits once Avenger is active to AoE slash, fueled by the 80% status chance of main weight viral. You may not think this is that high, but we also have Galvanized Hell, right? So 3.3 flashbang nukes per trigger pull at 80% status. The slot saved by combining reload and cold and chilling reload lets us slot primed point blank, which is essential because the alt-fire does not benefit from gun CO. If you look at the dock, it only benefits with the hit of the alt-fire projectile, not the AoE. So we won't mod it. Primed point blank makes it much easier to build merciless stacks to fuel into your AoE. Even though the weapon has base 4% crit, we're also slotting Prime Ravage just like Hunter Munitions because of Avenger. This makes you AoE slash a lot harder, and then obviously, the Primed Bane to double dip for 2.4 times more damage on bleeds. Now, the Epitaph here only acts as a stat stick. You will not be using it. It functions as an auger stick for the 2 set bonus of the 3 we'll be getting, and this is extremely important, so don't skip this. It can be any pistol, but just make sure you put 2 auger mods on it. Now, let's see what is on this Rhino. This builds off a concept you've seen before. I know, well, I hope you've seen my recent videos and showcases on Muzzle Flash. This is another Muzzle Flash build with Rhino. The best part about this is Muzzle Flash only triggers on shot, so you're literally flashbanging enemies as you detonate Corinth's AoE. Speaking of which, let's go over this real quick. So if I go into my settings here, I have alt-fire also set to scroll down. I find it's really handy for a lot of alt-fire weapons, and also used it for Eidolon hunting because it just felt smoother to shoot Propa that way. But this lets you just spam scroll to rhythmically spam the alt-fire grenades of Corinth as fast as it allows you to go. And it will go a long way to make alt-fire builds like this a lot comfier, especially because you don't really need to aim it since our goal is detonated in our face. This build currently runs Arcane Energize, but if you take Xeneric, I would strongly recommend trying out Arcane Tempo. I've had some of you ask me about this in the past. Arcane Acceleration does not work on shotguns, and those of you that say it does because it says it works on primary weapons, well, I'd say try it out for yourself and actually look at your maximum fire rate you can click at and then come back. Just because the buff activates doesn't mean it applies. You can proc Warframe arcanes with any weapon, not just the one it's meant to work for. But tempo will boost your .667 fire rate to 1.27, or basically almost twice as fast and more often than once per second. The 15% trigger rate is simple, because the main fire mode has pellets and each pellet can trigger the arcane, and the main fire mode is actually crit based. So once you have Avenger active, the all-fire AoE will hit many enemies at once to keep it active. But yes, back to the build. More strength is nice to feel Roar for double dip slash since it works like a universal Bane. Basically a massive primed Bane, and makes up for it if you don't have prime Banes available. With how often we'll be spamming our Corinth and the rate we proc the blinds, the 190 range from overextended should be enough. This prime shirt footage should actually be an Excel slot, but polarity problems. This will let you slot Augur secrets here for the 3-set Augur bonus I was mentioning and recover 120% of energy spent to shields. This is important because we have recastable Roar with its Augment, Piercing Roar, and you need 120% conversion for it to give back all your shields on cast. The Muzzle Flash Blind lasts for 7.65 seconds on 128 duration. The two main abilities, Muzzle Flash and Roar, also last 38 seconds and are honestly fine since I draw the line with the mandatory abilities that stick to you, needing to last at least 30 seconds on a build to be viable, usually. You don't want to use Iron Skin on this build except as a last resort, say if Rolling Guard is still on cooldown. This is because Combat Discipline self-damages the proc Arcane Avenger as you kill enemies. It keeps your Alfar consistently critting, but once you cast Iron Skin, the self-damage drains that instead, and Iron Skin damage is not considered a self-damage and will not proc Arcane Avenger. Combat Discipline should be at rank 0 to minimize the self-drain to just 1 HP per kill, or at least rank 2 or less for 4 HP drain. I just couldn't do that here again because of polarity problems. Your pets? I chose to bring a worm since we can mostly self-prime viral on the alt-fire already and the slash handles the rest. A sentinel because I want the vigilante set bonus from a primary weapon on them. All 4 of them here to boost the crits on Corinth even further. The mods on worm aren't that important, just your stock radar, vacuum, and synth mods and primed regen, but if you want to go longer, I would recommend taking Jin instead since it gets infinite lives with the awakened precept. But worm has some interesting utility. Negate, block status effects with a charge that takes 5 seconds to reset, and Guardian instantly refills your shields once they bottom out, basically a free second shield gate and alleviates the stress of shield gating, but only once every 30 seconds. Neither of these mods can be equipped on a Panzer, so it's up to you whether you want Panzer for Synset Equilibrium or Viral Quills, which we honestly need neither of on this loadout. And that's it. How to use this? Shoot something to primary fire to instantly proc Arcane Tempo for the fire rate buff. They will also probably die due to slash procs from your pellets. Regardless of if Avenger procs or not, after a few kills with your primary, you can start spamming all fire with your stacked Merciless. Never have to reset unless you die. Make sure your Roar is up for Giga damage and Muzzle Flash for the easy flashbangs. Roll if your shields break, which Guardian can help you with, and recast Piercing Roar to knock everything down and get all shield back. This build also absolutely shits on Acolytes, as you can see. Enjoy! If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like, or better yet, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 79.5% of you are not subscribed. I'm trying my best to get you new information out always as soon as possible, like I've done with covering all the new war stuff, the new augments, and meme builds like this. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds on a nearly daily basis. You don't want to miss out on any of that, do you? That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and see you all next time.